Good day. I'm Dr. Unni Mooppan. I'm the president of the Interfaith Institute of Long Island. We are at the Student Center of the Hofstra University, and today's function is to give our annual award to Mr. Joshua Seftel, who is the director of the movie Stranger at the Gate.
Welcome to the Interfaith Institute of Long Island's annual award event. This event celebrates outstanding individuals who have done something which brings the community together, and is a great example of how love and compassion can overcome hate, anger, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all the other things that are going on.
He's the president of the Muslim Students Association, Imran Qureshi.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank all the guests who have joined us today for the Interfaith Institute's annual Interfaith Award and film screening. My name is Imran Qureshi, the president of the Muslim Student Association here at Hofstra, who is honored to collaborate with the Interfaith Institute for this event. The film Stranger at the Gate shows that in these tumultuous times, it is always important to hold strong to the values of acceptance, respect, and tolerance, which is what this film embodies. It shows the message about how quickly hate can turn into love, about how a person who intended to cause great harm to his Muslim neighbors had a total change of heart because of the way he was welcomed and accepted by the members of the Muslim community. So to conclude, Hofstra MSA is honored to host this event, and it is our hope that we can embrace these lessons that Islam teaches and apply them in our lives. The world will be a much better place if we learned to embody the qualities of empathy, unity, and compassion throughout our lives. By doing so, we can create a society where understanding triumphs over ignorance and unity prevails over division. I now hand it over to Daisy Khan for the Interfaith Institute. Thank you for being our guest at Hofstra. Assalamu alaikum.
I want to introduce Dr. Farooq Khan, who is behind all of this. He is the founder of the Interfaith Institute of Long Island, and I'd like to invite him to observe a moment of silence.
Welcome. The intent of the moment of silence is to honor and remember the lives lost in Israel and Palestine. And two members, Samantha Wall, a rabbi who was dedicated to building bridges, and 6-year-old Palestinian American Wadia Al-Fayumi, who was the victim of hate. We stand united in our collective mourning and show respect and compassion for the suffering of all people. Let us stand and silently pray for these souls. Thank you.
I would like to invite Dr. Unni Mooppan, well known to our community here, who is the president of Interfaith Institute.
Interfaith Institute of Long Island came out of the vision and work of Dr. Khan and many other people. We have Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, and even people who do not believe in any religion, atheists. So everybody is involved. The idea is to propagate the idea that no religion is created for the purpose of destroying another religion. This event is for to give our Interfaith Award on an annual basis. Movie is a very powerful medium for propagating any idea, including this interfaith harmony. Last year's P.A. Perrotti and this year Joshua Seftel, both of them have created wonderful movies, and it will speak for itself. I don't have to tell anything about it. Enjoy the movie and have a nice day. Thank you.
So the movie screening is going to last about 30 minutes.
Most of the time when I tell people this story, they tell me that they don't believe me and that I'm making it up or that it's not true. When I was younger, he was amazing. He was just always there for me when I needed someone. You always hear about mass murders and how terrifying they are. But you can never really imagine that hurtful and harmful person to be in the same house as you.
Stranger at the Gate he's the executive produced. He is a producer, but it was also produced by executive producer was Malala Yousafzai, and it was nominated, as I mentioned earlier, for the Academy Award in 2023. It's his latest film in his Emmy and Peabody nominated Secret Life of Muslim Projects, which I remember when that came out. It was a very, very profound film about post 9/11, when there was a lot of Islamophobia and fear of Muslims. Joshua's film really made a mark at that time because it combated Islamophobia with filmmaking. And Seftel, who experienced anti-Semitism as a child, has been committed to working on his subject matter for the past 7 years. He's also contributed to the Peabody Award-winning podcast, This American Life, and the New York Times. Please, another round of applause for Joshua Seftel. I don't have to tell you much about Richard McKinney because you have seen Richard in the film, but he did serve in the Marine Corps, an Army veteran for 25 years, and did many, many tours in the Middle East. Richard, when he came back to the U.S., as was mentioned in the film, was filled with rage towards Muslims, and until that fateful trip that you saw. Where he was welcomed by the local Muslim community, and that changed the course of his life permanently. And today we'll hear a little bit more about what Richard is doing now. And not only did he wind up serving as the president and the leader of the mosque, he started an organization called From Hate to Understanding, where he travels around the country and speaks about his journey in an effort to change the hateful rhetoric of others. Please, a round of applause. And in the middle is John Kaiser. John Kaiser is a person that I have known for many, many years, who is a founder of Amir Abdul Qadir Project. He is also an author, a philanthropist, has a family foundation, and also an entrepreneur. He serves on the board of William and Mary Grieve Foundation, from which position he has been spearheading for the past 25 years projects to address America's dangerous ignorance of the Muslim faith. It is an ignorance he has learned that also infects Muslim communities as well. So, a round of applause for John Kaiser. Zaki Bahrami, you saw Zaki in the film, in his pink Hawaiian shirt, right? Zaki is an Afghan-American Muslim born and raised in Muncie, Indiana. What a beautiful story of parents who come as refugees, then they start their lives here, then they have beautiful children like Zaki, and he has always been very passionate about community work and social impact that has been passed on to him by his parents. But he did receive a double major in global affairs and statistics from Yale University, just like every good Muslim parent pushes you into an Ivy League school. Zaki is currently working in product strategy at Indeed and lives in Brooklyn. So if anybody needs a job, is that the company that gives you jobs? You have a special connection to Zaki. Maybe he can find you a really specific job. He also serves as the vice president of Awaken, an NGO founded by his mother that supports families in urgent need in Afghanistan. And you know how much need there is in Afghanistan right now. So this family is not only doing work in America as a diaspora community, they are deeply involved with what's going on in their own home country as well. And then finally, Conrad Fisher. Oh my God. MD, MA, is professor of medicine at Touro College of Medicine in New York. He's a program director in internal medicine at Brookdale Hospital in Brooklyn and vice chair of medicine. He completed a fellowship at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. He is an internationally recognized expert in preparation for complex USMLE. You all know that. I have no idea what that means, but there's enough doctors in this room to know what that means. And internal medicine boards, and is the author of Master the Boards series for Step 2 and Step 3. But Conrad is also a reverend, like many people of conscience who have a day job and then an evening job. Reverend Dr. Fisher completed a master's degree in theology at Union Theological Seminary at Columbia University. He is ordained as an interfaith minister as well as being ordained as deacon in the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia, that is ROCOR. He is also the president of the Institute for Studies in Eastern Christianity. So, welcome to this beautiful panel. We have an Orthodox Christian, we have a Jewish person, we have John, what are you, Episcopalian? Okay, John's not telling us what he is, but I know he's Christian by birth, that I know. And then, of course, we have a former Christian who embraced Islam, and then we have a born Muslim. So, what a beautiful lineup. And this is the kind of stuff we want to see in the world. And this is why we have assembled here today. So I'd like to start with Conrad, because I think Conrad is highly energetic and will get us going. I know that. So as both a minister and medical doctor, how do you view the intersection of medicine and spirituality in the context of what you have just witnessed, healing and transformation?
These are all different ways of being able to relieve suffering. The people who are in this room, we want the world to view all of humanity as one body, and therefore any suffering to any part of that body is suffering for all of us. So when it's said in the Christian Bible, whatever is done to the smallest person, Jesus says is done to him, or remember every day of your life, you too were once a refugee in the land of Egypt, that we're all refugees, or that we're all suicides until somebody saves us. So the point of this film and being here today is to experience our common humanity, but the point of the film is not with that sort of feel-good interfaith stuff where everybody says, I love you, you love me, what's the problem? We can only have to open our cell phones to be able to see the ugly that's in the world right now, and it makes it sweeter today, doesn't it? That we can be together like this, to fight back against violence, together this way.
Okay, so you must have heard it from somewhere, John, so what was the impetus for you?
The impetus is my basic contrarianism towards life. I think we're so loaded, ridiculously loaded, with preconceived ideas about people, faith, sickness, health, you name it. I mean, there's always a prepackaged idea of one kind or another. And like most prepackaged ideas, they're not all wrong, but they're certainly not all right. And so maybe the best way to respond to the question would be to say, well, first of all, I recognized in what Conrad was doing, or what he wanted to participate in, is something that was much needed, but and something that we need. You just can't function as a society when you're constantly demonizing a certain portion of the population, whether it's of our own country or the world at large. And once we ran out of communist hate in I guess it was when 91, the wall went down, and the Defense Department and the industrial complex was wondering how they're going to continue to survive without a real enemy. Well, of course, we found one. But it's not a real enemy in the old sense of the word. You just couldn't count the number of tanks and the planes because they were too small and they were too scattered. So over the next, 100 plus years, we've managed to create this idea that Islam is the enemy.
So John, I'm just going to interject for 1 second because I know that I would like you to speak a little bit more about where you're headed, but I want to give an opportunity to Mac I'd like you to just speak a little bit because John said, you know, having this complete total ignorance of Muslims. And in the film, obviously you were consumed by hate and you did not know any Muslim. This change that you had, the scene in the film where you talk about seeing blood constantly coming out of that target, was that moment when you knew that something had to change? Was your change gradual, and what does it feel like right now for you to be a Muslim, a committed Muslim?
Looking back now, I think I'm a little smarter than I used to be. Let's just say that. And looking back now, I think that was the sense that I was getting back my humanity. Because it wasn't just a paper target. That was the thing. As far as my conversion to Islam, or reversion, however you look at it, it was a progressive change. But I have to say it was rather quick to go from the distance that I was at. You know, wanting to blow as many of them up as I could, other than becoming. And it was 8 weeks. If someone was to tell me that they made a change like that in 8 weeks, I wouldn't believe it. And to be honest with you, I don't have a reason for it. I have to believe it was divine intervention. It was what was supposed to happen. It was God's plan.
How did you find this film? Where did this come from? How did it just land in your inbox?
So, well, first I want to thank you, Daisy, for being a great champion of our work. We've had over 100 screenings of this film, and there's been multiple times where I've looked out in the audience and seen your bright face there to support us.
I go to all of them. It's fun.
Yeah, and so thank you for that, and thank you to the Interfaith Institute for hosting this. And I want to also thank my panelists, Jackie and Mac, for sharing their lives with us on the screen, and to John and Conrad for being heroes off the screen who made this film happen. So I feel really grateful to be with all of you today. This story is, we were working on a series about American Muslims to tell stories that would shatter stereotypes. And the way that came about is I grew up in upstate New York, a Jewish kid, one of the few Jewish kids in my school, and I got picked on. Kids called me names, Jew kike. They threw pennies at me in the hallway of school to see if I would bend over to pick them up. And someone threw a rock the size of a brick through the front window of our home. And those memories stayed with me. And after I became a filmmaker, 9/11 happened, and then I saw my Muslim friends facing similar kind of hate. And at that moment I thought, maybe there's something I can do as a filmmaker that in some small way could help. So I started making this series of films, and we came across Mac's story in a newspaper, USA Today University Edition, which is a very rare publication, hard to find. And actually the person who found it is here, Anna Rowe, our producer, was the one who actually found it. She's sitting right back there. And as is my wife.
And little girl.
As is my wife right behind her, and my 2 daughters, who I also owe great thanks to for supporting me through all this.
Thank you so much. Well, so Zaki, you are in that living room and your parents are talking, obviously behind the scenes, about what they are witnessing with Mac coming in. What are the inside conversations going on inside the Barami?
Like when this was happening?
Yeah, like you are witnessing this whole thing. Are you worried? Are you afraid? I know that you said your mom is what, like Mother Teresa, but even Mother Teresa has her staffers telling her, you know, what is going on in the home.
Yeah, I think this is something that our parents didn't tell the kids right away, because I remember I found out much later than them. But I think it just started out as like we had him in our home. It was another guest of the many hundreds of thousands of guests that came to our home, that we were just like, we've always grown up just with that humanity. Like, we're talking about humanity. It's anybody that comes through our door is a guest, and from the Afghan culture to many cultures, the guest coming into your home is a special guest. You treat them with respect, you treat them with love, and you offer what you can to them. So that's who Mac was for me when I first met him. Was a guest who I respected and had love for, just for the fact that he came to our home. And later, when I learned that from my parents, I was definitely shocked. I didn't understand how how that he even was. If I was him, I wouldn't have even told anybody. You know, I'm like, how did he have the confidence to tell people that this is what I was planning to do?
And I can also see how you would have prevented them from inviting back, because you're the American. You were born and raised here, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we only have a little bit because we started a little late, and there's so many more questions I had for them, but I want to give an opportunity to the audience to ask any questions.
I'm Sikh. I think you would have been knowing about Sikh. Is not after the Muslims. We are the target since 2001. Did you try to make that? So I will appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
I will meet you after that.
Thank you.
And I will try to make it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
He is a revered member of the Sikh community here, a pillar of the community, and actually he has published the most magnificent book on world religions. So I think that it would be great to...
One of our collaborators, current collaborators, is Sikh, Simranjeet Singh, who's also an author, and we're working with him on a project right now. So yeah.
Hi, I just first of all want to say thank you for the incredible job all of you have done on behalf of humanity. Talk about finding your humanity. What you've done is a real tremendous gift, and each one of you should reach back and give yourself a big pat on the back from all of us. But I guess my particular question would be to Matt and Seth about being in the film and living it. It's one thing to be out and talk about it afterwards, but living it and portraying it, that each of you has played a special role in how you had to live your life and now explain it after the fact. And what you're doing, in my opinion, is really teaching people about reaching out to every one of us as a guest in each other's home, in each other's life. And what I'm most concerned about is the safety, obviously, of the fact that your parents invited them in and fortunately didn't tell you who was being invited in. It's almost not to scare you at the time, but in reality, you had to make that really strong feeling that you were capable of doing that. You were capable of going into their house as a guest.
That's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up. So I have had death threats. Contrary to popular belief, not everybody likes me. And I kind of just look at it like the first part of my life was filled with people that were trying to kill me. If that all of a sudden stopped, I'd probably go through some kind of separation anxiety, and I don't need that added to my paperwork. So we'll just leave it how it is. It doesn't bother me. You know, if I'm making somebody that mad, obviously I'm making a difference. I'm not afraid, and maybe it's just my own stupidity. I'm not afraid to die. I haven't been for many years. What I'm afraid to is to die for no reason.
Comment. A lot of hate and malice that is really that we see around us is due to a lot of misinformation and propaganda, which doesn't come from direct sources but comes from all these deep corners. And there's really no way to stop it because the way social media and other, I think the only way going forward is coming out with documentaries, fact-based, information. So I think we all have to invest in that, and maybe Josh, you're going to have make more movies.
And you're going to have to donate because Congress. Okay, we have one more.
I think last question.
I was very active in an interfaith group many years ago. I wasn't able to continue with it. But when we get together, we talk about wonderful to see all these people here. All these people know us and love us, and we know them and love them. How do we get to the message out rather than focusing just on the wonderful interfaith people and how we're going to convince the haters to stop hating? Or if we just talk to people who are interfaith and concerned about it, are there attempts to reach out to other groups that might have people who are not? And maybe I'm being trite for my own prejudices, but reaching out to the NRA, which I have no idea how, I'm sure they don't have a policy on interracial relationships, reaching out to groups that do something for a living other than come to meetings and work for interfaith, healing. And I don't know a good answer to that, but when you speak, do you speak to groups, many groups other than interfaith people? I know I wasn't able to do anything about that when I was active, and I'm curious if that's been your.
The thing with that is that I'll talk to anybody that sits still for a second. It's just me. And I think don't downplay the interfaith situation as far as the gatherings and the get-togethers. Yes, but we have to look at it in a different light. This is not a kumbaya moment. This is a getting together and planning moment, because the difference is made after you leave this room, not in this room. Because we're all like-minded people. At least I think we are. Right? So it's made outside those doors. That's where we need to make the change.
You did mention about the teachers being taught about it. So the subject of humanity, and instead of interfaith, in humanity, teaching humanity in the school and colleges, if they start at the early age, that will carry the torch much more at a higher level. Because if the young generation is taught about the humanity, they may not hate the different race.
Blessing of the Kohanim, the blessing of the high priest, and this is from our hearts to you. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
The Lord bless you and protect you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
The Lord deal kindly and graciously with you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem alecha shalom.
The Lord bestow peace upon you and grant you peace.
Together we say, Amen. Salam alaikum.